Hey folks, welcome to the third video on the Flyer class. In this assignment, you're going to finish off your Flyer class. You need the following methods. You need a fall check method, which will determine whether or not your Flyer has hit the bottom of the screen. And you need an obstacle check method, which will determine whether or not your bird has hit an obstacle. The first method we'll work on is the fall check. And that's just going to check the ball's position or the bird's position and see if it's below the bottom of the screen. If so, subtract 1 from lives, set the ball back to the center of the screen, set the velocity to 0, and call the forces method with flap as the argument. And then it should return true. Okay, otherwise, return false. All right, and what this looks like, so here's the test code that I'm giving you, and you'll see that I have uncommented out fall check. So yours will come commented like this so that you can write things and it'll work and show up. But I'm uncommenting it out, and then I'll run that. And every time it hits the bottom of the screen there, you see it resetting to the middle. And that's what we want to see. Okay, now the next method we want to work on is obstacle check. And this one is pretty tough, so we've saved this one for last. All right, the first thing you have to do is declare a float to keep track of the distance between the bird and the obstacle. Whoops. Now, if that distance is small enough that the ball appears to hit the obstacle, then we'll do these things. Subtract 1 from lives, set the ball back to the center of the screen, and call the forces method with flap as the argument. Otherwise, return false. Oh, and I guess, it makes sense to return true there too, since it's a Boolean, we'd better. Or else processing will get angry with us. All right, and that has to happen last. And then, so otherwise return false. All right, and to show you what that looks like, I'll uncomment that method out. And I'm only going to get the one obstacle here. Okay, good. So you notice it acted a little bit funny when it was passing by. That's okay. If we see one where the obstacle isn't right in the middle of the screen, it should reset it. And notice that it did set it to the center of the screen, but the obstacle is taking up that space. So you're going to encounter that. We'll make it so that doesn't happen in the actual game when we put everything together. Okay, so those are the two methods that you have to work on. And one tricky thing that I'll point out here is that finding the distance, you're going to need to use the dist function in processing. Well, actually, you don't need to. But what you will need to do is you will need to take a look back at your obstacle and see how you're keeping track of the X and Y position, and also how you're keeping track of its size. All right, and then what I'm going to strongly encourage you to do is to draw a picture where you label those things on the picture. If the ball hits your obstacle, you've got a circle with some radius, and you've got a square with the size of that square there. And so you'll want to label those things on your picture and see what makes sense. And to get the X position of your obstacle, and obs.x, this will go into, this line right here, will go into this obstacle's class variables, and bring you the x. And similarly, obs.y will go into this object's class variables and bring you its y variable. And you can probably already guess how we're going to get the obstacle size. Obs.obstacle size. And this will get you that particular object's, that particular obstacle's size. And by doing it this way and making sure that we're always referring back to our obstacle with this dot notation, no matter which object we talk about, we're always getting its x and y location and its size. All right, and so you'll need to use those things in your logic for this method. And this is definitely the most complicated method of any of the methods and classes that we've made for this project. All right, good luck with these two, and we'll see you next time.